Ladies and gentlemen, friends and open-minded people wherever you live in the world, this is David Duke, and this is the David Duke program on the Rinse Radio Network, and we are going to have a great show today. We have the always controversial and incredible writer and a brilliant, I guess, strategician, if that's the right word for it, and a heck of a good comedian as well. He's funny, and he's intelligent, and he's really made a big difference, maybe the biggest, in the alt-right, and the popular alt-right among young people. He has kind of blazoned the way with extreme satire and hyperbole and lots of techniques. In fact, let's just go to him right now. Andrew, are you on the phone? This is Andrew England. Are you there, sir?
I am on the phone.
Don't blush too much for the accolades. You deserve them. So, how are you doing? Wow, the media is just going not great guns. They're just emptying the sewers of New York and Tel Aviv on Donald Trump's head. It's just amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like a gang rape. I mean, it's incredible, the vitriol coming out of this media. I don't think anybody's ever seen anything like it. I mean, it's to be expected. We knew it was going to happen at some point. I mean, it's been building up to this, but now it's just they're just making things up and just throwing whatever they can at this man. And it's made him stronger, though. That's the takeaway here, is that Donald Trump has become stronger because of this. And the speeches that he's giving now, I mean, he's tearing it up.
Yeah, he really is, isn't he? I mean, it's pretty doggone amazing. Talking about the globalist bankers, the globalist establishment, and it's amazing. And I think he's going to win. I really believe that. I think the same factor that was in my elections and what's going on right now in Louisiana is going on right now with Donald Trump. That a lot of people are more afraid today than ever before to say who they are supporting to some unknown voice on the phone or some machine. And yeah. I think that his vote percentages are going to be way above what the polls show. I believe he's still in the lead right now, and I think he has a chance to increase the lead. But I hope he goes in and really cuts. He's got to go after Clinton on these emails. The media has hid that. You've heard about the fact that NBC they ran 0 minutes on the emails exposing Clinton. I mean, her unbelievably crookedness, her support of ISIS. My God, Saudi Arabia. We now know that Saudi Arabia is the leading exporter of terrorism in the world, according to Clinton. But she tells this to Goldman Sachs or Jewish bosses, but she doesn't tell it to the American people. She's guilty. If you or I sent $10 to ISIS, we'd be facing the life imprisonment, for aiding and abetting terrorism. But here we have the Secretary of State. It's hard to even comprehend it. Saying that she wants to send $60 billion of the highest class weapons, including shoulder-fired Stinger missiles that can bring down passenger aircraft, to Saudi Arabia, which she admits in her own discussions with Goldman Sachs and in her emails that they are the biggest promoter of ISIS and the biggest promoter of Al-Qaeda, which, of course, our government says did 9/11 and killed 3,000 Americans. This is our Secretary of State, and this isn't even an issue in the media.
Yeah, they're not even talking about it. I mean, that revelation alone, but they're just piling up now, and nobody even knows. There's been 9 drops now. The 9th one came last night, and nobody even knows what's in these emails. I mean, nobody's read them all. The media won't do their job and read them, so, I mean, we're trying to read them and trying to figure out what's in there, and it's slow going. So
it's enough to put her in the electric chair for treason. That's what's in there. They've already had enough in there to convict her for aiding terrorism and causing the death of Americans by supporting ISIS, directly causing the death of many Americans, many Europeans. And our government says it's fighting ISIS, but we've been supporting the Saudi regime, which she herself admits has been supporting ISIS. Did you hear what the vice president said, by the way, Biden, about?
That he's going to do a CIA cyber attack on Russia. Is that what you're talking about? This was nuts.
Well, we get into that too. But you know what he said? He gave a speech, I think, to the Kennedy School of Economics or Government or whatever, and he literally said this. Now, I didn't even know this because the media never promoted this, and I just didn't become aware of it. He did this a year or two ago, and you know what he said? He said that we need to convince our colleagues, the Saudis, to stop supporting ISIS. with their money and weapons and support. Stop. Now, this is a vice president of the United States. We're supposed to be in a war against ISIS, and his colleagues are supporting ISIS with American money, supplies, weapons. In fact, Clinton wanted $60 billion worth for Saudi. This is like something you have to pinch yourself and say, I'm dreaming this. It just couldn't be true. I mean, if his colleagues are supporting ISIS, he's supporting ISIS, and basically America's been supporting ISIS and Al-Qaeda, which has killed a lot of Americans. And this is the ultimate treason. So it also means that Obama's a traitor, Biden's a traitor, and Clinton's a traitor. We need to get out the giblets, right? We need to get out the nooses for after a good old-fashioned American trial and convict these bastards of absolute treason to the United States and causing the death of countless numbers of Americans and Europeans around the world.
Well, yeah, and if Trump wins, I think all these people are going to prison. I mean, he said at the last debate, he said, you know, he's going to appoint a special prosecutor to investigate Hillary Clinton, but all these people need investigated. Biden, Obama, this whole group that's been running these wars, and it's, you know, I mean, now they're talking about starting a war with Russia, and they're aggressively going into this. I mean, this is something that's happening. It's almost unbelievable. I think, and this isn't getting that much play. I mean, I'm trying to talk about it on my site, but even in the alt-right circles, you know, it's not getting that much play because I think it's because it's like almost too much to comprehend. That it seems so unbelievable that these people are actually literally pushing for a war with Russia. And they're talking about, I mean, Obama is having meetings talking about he's going to attack the Syrian army, which is effectively attacking Russia. I mean, if they start attacking the Syrian army, the Russian troops are, you know, so mixed in there at this point that they would be killing Russians. And what is Russia going to do? It almost looks like they're planning to start this before the election.
You know, it's almost like La La Land. You know, it's like I read articles this morning. This is a perfect example in our controlled Zio media. And I'm reading an article this morning that's talking about how that the Allies are getting ready to make an attack on Mosul. And they admit in there that the primary fighters that are going to take back Mosul from ISIS are Shiite Iranians, right? Yet the media every day says the Shiites and the Iranians, they're our worst enemy. Of course, the Shiites haven't committed this terrorism all over the world, like the radical Sunnis. But the media, I mean, has Iran as our enemy, yet they're out there. In fact, there's more Iranians right now fighting, besides a few American advisors and a few others, against ISIS, the threat of ISIS, which is attacking America and attacking Europe, than there are Americans, but the media spins it like Iran is our enemy, right? I mean, well, yeah, again,
a few months ago, Kerry had to come out and admit that, I think he did it by accident, that Iran was helping fight ISIS in Syria. So it's all ridiculous. It gets to the point where it's just goofy. And so much of it is just based on the fact that these people know that the average American has no time to figure out what's going on and can't figure it out anyway because they're being fed all this stupid misinformation every single day, shoved down their throats.
Yeah, it really is amazing the scenario, what they're telling us. It's just the lies of the media and the fact that the media wouldn't make a big deal of this. I mean, here's again, we got to repeat this. We almost need to repeat it 100 times. All right, Clinton is meeting secretly with Goldman Sachs, her financial bosses, who've been the biggest political contributor in America for the last 20 years, and they talk among themselves about how Saudi Arabia has been really a client state of America and Israel. And Saudi Arabia has been the biggest exporter of Islamic terrorism in the world. She herself said that. It's been the biggest exporter of Islamic terrorism on the planet. And that's our ally. And that's an ally that she has tried to send. In fact, she has $60 billion. And by the way, the Republicans voted for these bills. The Democrats voted for these bills. The treason is so widespread in our government, it's hard to believe. I got to get in the Senate. I got to really start raising hell about all this stuff. And I hope we do it. We're doing well. We're getting a lot of good response. It was a big article in Newsweek yesterday on Sunday. This kind of showed that we have a really great chance, and they're getting really scared over here in Louisiana. And I really appreciate your support of the campaign. And so many people who read your publication and have tried to help us in this campaign. And we need to really go full bore now in this last 3 weeks. We really need your help, folks. You can go to DukeForSenate.com to help us, and I really appreciate all you've done to help us very much.
Yeah, well, 100%. Anybody who can help out needs to if they haven't hit the max donation amount. I encourage people to, because you're doing very well. I read the stories in this Newsweek one. They admit that you're doing very well and you might win, which is, for them to say might is almost like saying you will, because these people will never admit that stuff. The Washington Post just had a big article saying that Hillary has already won and she should just stop campaigning completely because it's already over. So this is part of their whole strategy to demoralize people and make you think that the battle is already lost. So with Newsweek admitting that you have a very good chance, that really says a lot about your actual situation.
Well, we've got a lot of good people, and like I say, we did 1 million people last night, and we got amazing amount of response. I've been to festival after festival. Yesterday we're out there. We've been, I must have talked also. I spent a few hours on the phone talking to hundreds of people, because when we do a call, sometimes they get a message like their phone didn't have any voicemail or didn't have a answer machine, and so they missed the call. But they do see my number, my campaign number, on the caller ID. So they call back not knowing it's a friend they missed, or they're curious who called me, and they call back. And so these are just totally, out of the blue people. And they call back, and I say, hi. Well, believe it or not, our campaign called you, and this is David Duke, and we got to change this country. We're losing this country. I joke to them. You know what I say, Andrew? I kind of make a bit of a joke. I say, I believe, well, it's very clear that the media of this country, hates, there's only one person in the media of this nation hates more than Donald Trump, and that's David Duke. And then I always kind of joke and say, but that's about the best endorsement I could get, right? But now I'm having to change that, because I just did a little video with this robocall, and I said, the truth is that I used to say that the only person the media hated more than Donald Trump was David Duke, and I'll say now it's on an equal basis. But that says a lot. In fact, that says it all, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, you're in a competition now that Donald Trump's gaining on you, especially after that speech about the international bankers controlling the media and trying to destroy America with globalism. These Jews are flipping out because they all knew. As soon as he said that, and for them to come out, it's like an admission that they're doing all of this. I couldn't believe New York Times is like, well, this is anti-Semitism. He's talking about international bankers and globalism and control of the media. He's talking about Jews. And this is an admission of guilt. It's a plain admission of guilt. It's like calling themselves out as doing all of this, which it's been an incredible, the last week, the last 10 days have just been nuts. Yep.
Well, I tell you,
the World War is coming up, I guess.
Well, let's hope not. Because it could be the end of white mankind. There would be centered in Russia, Europe, and America, and it's amazing to think that they would even risk that horrific thing. A lot of them would die too, but we don't. Obviously, that would be the greatest tragedy befall our people ever, and who knows what would happen out of that? And most of the biggest damage would be in our countries, in white countries of the world, and maybe that's what some of these crazy Jewish extremists want. They're so crazy. It's like Masada, right?
Yeah, no, I think they've lost the plot, basically. It's like they just want to destroy the world completely, that it's not even about them benefiting from anything. They just want the world completely destroyed, and they can go along with it. It's fine. That's the impression you start getting when they're talking about a world war with Russia, and Putin's meeting with China, and China's like, yeah, well, we support Russia. So you're gonna have a war between Europe, America, fighting China and Russia. This is really a nutty proposition to save ISIS, and that's what they say. The reasoning is that we have to save ISIS. Well, they don't actually.
Yeah, we got to save ISIS. We got to go against Russia. We got to stop them bombing the radical Al Qaeda forces, and and al-Nusra forces and ISIS forces in Aleppo and give them safe passage out of this so they can go continue to kill Europeans and Americans, right? And also Middle Easterners. I mean, the whole thing is totally insane, isn't it?
That was the U.S. terms. They said that you have to let these terrorists leave peacefully with their weapons. And I mean, what are they saying? And then they say that it's about human rights. I mean, when you get down to it, when you ask them like, but why are we even fighting a war in Syria? Who cares? What does that have to do with anything? And they say it's because of human rights that Assad uses barrel bombs on his own people.
No, he used bunker buster bombs.
Why he would want to kill his own people? Yeah, no, I mean, for the U.S. to claim human rights after what they've done in the Middle East since the Bush period, these endless wars, just that millions of people have died, for them to say, well, we're concerned about human rights and we think Russia is violating human rights, so we have to support these terrorists. It's like, like we were saying before, it's you just can't even process it. Yeah. It just gets to these levels of goofiness that you just, shouldn't even be possible.
Well, what's interesting about all this, and it shows you the power and the controlled media that we have in this country, it's not like we're just offering an opinion here. The fact is, we know it's a fact. They don't deny it. They can't deny it. That Clinton, in speeches with Goldman Sachs, that Clinton in emails said privately that the Saudis were the biggest exporter of terrorism on the planet, which has been our ally and is our ally right now, that Saudi Arabia has been the biggest driving force behind ISIS that rose in Syria and then later took into Iraq and then later sent terrorists to murder us in Europe and America. She says it, that they've been our allies. They are our allies. And they're the biggest supporters of terrorism. We're not making anything up, folks. How can this not be a story when the former Secretary of State and Obama administration and the Vice President of the United States admit that we have been sending the highest, worst weapons in the world to a state which is the most radical Islamic state in the world, the most repressive Islamic state in the world, and the one that's spreading more terrorism and has been responsible for ISIS? We're doing it. She's doing it. She's a damn traitor. Obama's a traitor. Biden's a traitor. And every congressman and senator that supported these policies in the United States Senate are traitors to the United States of America, and they have the blood of American victims of ISIS, and they have blood of European victims of ISIS on their hands.
Yeah, I mean, this is what's happening. It's all just out there in the public, and like you say, the media is refusing to report on it. So you've got just the government is funding ISIS, causing all of this, and then attacking Russia. What has Russia done? Russia has done nothing wrong. I mean, they're the ones defending the legal government that even the United Nations recognizes as the legal government of Syria. And we're going to go to war with Russia now because why? Did you see that Biden threat that they're going to launch a cyber attack because they're saying that the emails were hacked by Russia? And I don't know,
yet it's admitted that that's totally untrue, that there's no evidence whatsoever that the Russian government was behind it.
Okay, Podesta's email account is Gmail, okay? The Russian government didn't hack Gmail. That nobody has hacked Gmail. So what this means is that this account, somebody got the password, probably, most likely through a phishing email, where they sent Podesta an email and said, "This is Google. Please confirm your password and send it to us, so we don't close your account." I mean, people know what these are, right? These phishing emails. Everybody's gotten them before.
There's a sucker born every minute about that,
Yeah. And he responded to one of these emails. So anybody could have done this. I mean, a teenager or, anybody with a laptop could have sent John Podesta an email and said, "Please confirm this is Google, please confirm your password to us." Then they have access to all his emails. They send it to Julian Assange, and Assange publishes it. So, there's no reason that they keep saying that there has to be a state actor because there was hacking. There's no evidence of any hacking. People did not hack Gmail. I mean, they could have hacked his computer with, a Trojan virus, or his phone if he was using an Android, or, I mean, even if he was using an iPhone, but more likely if he was using an Android. And I don't know what kind of phone Podesta uses, but what I'm saying is this: anybody could have done this. They have no idea, and it was probably more than likely an individual who did it, rather than. I mean, there's no evidence it was the Russian government. If the Russian government wanted to drop documents, they could drop documents. I mean, I'm sure they have Hillary's server. This Romanian who hacked it wasn't even, a super high level hacker. He said that it was easy to get into, Hillary's private server. So, I mean, who knows what's in those 33,000 emails? It's hard to believe it could be anything worse than we already have now. But, this is the situation. It's rough. It's hard to deal with. But, we've got a referendum on the future of Western civilization coming up on November 8th. And, the people are going to decide. Hopefully, if they don't start a war with Russia and then declare the election, invalid or something. I mean, that's what I'm worried about. It sounds crazy. This sounds like Alex Jones type talk to say that. But, I mean, if they start a war before the election, they can say, well, we're in a state of emergency. We can't have this election.
That's true. But they're liable to do anything. I mean, they're desperate now, and they've always done that throughout history. In my races, when they got desperate, when I looked like I was going to win the United States Senate race in 1990, a long time ago, they had the Republican endorsed candidate, Ben Baggert, after the absentee ballots were cast by many Republicans. He then withdrew from the race, which called all those ballots to go in the memory hold. And it was they couldn't vote in an election. And the incumbent liberal Democrat, who had a voting record like Teddy Kennedy, was reelected to the Senate. They do anything. They do anything and everything. They don't care about law. They don't care about rights. They don't care about people. Nothing. We'll be back, folks, with Andrew Anglin right after these words from the network. Back in a minute.
If you've been listening to this program for any length of time, you'll know that Fukushima, the greatest calamity in history, has now, as I've been warning since 3/11, killed off virtually the whole North Pacific Ocean and especially up and down the entire West Coast. The radiation is migrating inland and is moving across the entire country. There's only one proven defender to radiation exposure, the brilliant Chernobyl-proven discovery of Dr. Michael Kiriak, which combines the 4 most potent and powerful algae on the planet, imported to the U.S. and known as Bio's Superfood. I've taken Bio's Superfood every day for several years now and want you to do the same for your sake and the health and safety of your family and loved ones. Take the banner at the top of Rense.com and prepare to learn how to save your life.
Dr. Joe Schneller.
The efficacy that we're looking for, that we're going to prove, is that carnivora wakes up this immune system and makes it dominant.
I highly recommend that you get started right away using Carnivora because it really will help you. Just follow the directions as the company gives them to you. And I just want everybody to know that there's been no one paid to do this. I'm doing this on my own because I care about everybody and want to see healthy people.
My husband has recovered tremendously after the physician suggested that he start taking Carnivora. When he was doing so well, I decided to start taking it as well, and we're both so pleased to be able to feel healthy again.
Hello, folks. Richard Ostro of Carnivora Research International here. Visit carnivora.com or call 1-866-VENUS-FLY. That's carnivora.com or 1-866-VENUS-FLY. Call us today.
Earthquakes, political chicanery, extreme weather, impending financial doom. If you haven't gotten prepared, you're just not paying attention. You need emergency food, and you know it. You'll get the most emergency food for your money from Ready Supply Foods. Companies with patriotic names try to sell you 5 or 6 soups, some pudding, drink powders, and rice, but have only half of the calories you need to survive. You really want to try and live on that? Ready Supply Foods sells 23 delicious entrees with none of the empty calories. Enjoy stroganoff, pasta alfredo, primavera and marinara, chicken a la king, Hawaiian sweet and sour, and vegetable rotini. Those are just a few of our amazing menu items. You can buy from the other companies and eat like a peasant, or buy from Ready Supply Foods and eat like a king. We sell you twice as much food for the money than most companies, and it's much better food. Surviving a disaster is hard enough without worrying about starving to death. See how much more food you can get for your money at ReadySupplyFoods.com today.
There's got to be a morning after, if we can hold on through the night, we have a chance to find the sunshine.
Okay, Andrew, this is David Duke, folks, and this is the David Duke program on the Rense Radio Network. My guest is Andrew Anglin of the leading alt-right website on the planet, dealing and reaching a lot of young people across the world, and it's a pretty amazing work that he's been doing. I didn't quite understand it at first myself, Andrew. I'm such of the older generation, but once I got it, I was pretty impressed by your thinking and how you devised this method of kind of breaking through the media curtain and using a lot of humor and effectiveness, hyperbole, and satire to really go after the enemy. Could you let some of my listeners, both young and old, understand a little bit more of what you've been trying to do and why you think it's working as well as it is?
Well, I mean, what I realize is that to appeal to young people, which I think should be the goal. I mean, older people are either on board or they're not. You're not gonna. I mean, some older people are gonna switch over, but pretty much once you get to a certain age, you're pretty set in your ways and your political views. So, I mean, my goal was appeal to young people, and I basically just ripped off 4chan, their approach and their rhetorical style that had developed on the 4chan image board in the 2000s, in the mid 2000s up through the early 2010s. Well, it's still going now, but I started my site, the Daily Stormer, in 2012. So that was a big influence on me, and it's a way of kind of engaging the culture and using a lot of humor and the maymays that get spread on the internet, and kind of hijacking the culture and redirecting it. And there's a lot also that
you're kind of breaking up a little bit. Why don't you give it a chance? You're probably coming back now.
Sensitization to these. Go ahead. Yeah, no, I think it's important to desensitize people to these things that they've been so sensitized to by the Jews, that all this stuff is so evil, that if you're white and you want to exist, then it means you want to exterminate Jews and you want to enslave the blacks and kill the Indians, and all this stuff that they program you with in the government education system. I mean, any of us can remember, at least, anybody of the millennial generation, these books that they give you when you're just learning how to read. They give you books and they're all about the Holocaust and slavery, and they show you these videos of the naked bodies in the Holocaust. And, it's a very heavy thing that they put on children. So it creates this mental barrier. And I've used the method of humor to try and get around that barrier, and it's proven very successful. I mean, part of it is just that the time is now for this message to be heard, because this is now affecting. It's no longer an abstract thing. This quote unquote diversity. It's a real thing that's really affecting people's day-to-day lives. I mean, you can't go to Walmart. You can't go anywhere. You can't go out and have ice cream. You can't go anywhere in public. I mean, you can't go to your work and not have these people just swarming everywhere. I mean, I got a lot of friends who I grew up with, who work in IT in big companies, and they're surrounded by Pakistanis and Indians, and they're flying the Indians directly in to fill these positions. They're hiring them from India and flying them into the U.S. to work in these positions at these companies. So, I mean, this is affecting people's lives directly now, whereas up through the 90s and even into the early 2000s, it wasn't something that people really saw. Because the country's so big, it's a very big country, so they can move people in and take over neighborhoods, and you're not really totally aware of what's going on. So, I've focused on the youth, and I've come up with a rhetorical method which I think delivers the information in a way that people can accept without it seeming like some kind of super serious stereotype of what they've been told is this portrayal of evil that is Nazi, racist, KKK, etc.
Yeah, and it really is amazing, because what you're really doing is you're exposing the hypocrisy of the media when you use the same methods they use on us against them. I mean, Jamie Foxx goes on Saturday Night Live and says, "Boy, it was great. I got to kill all the white people," and the applause meters go up and say, applaud, applaud. The audience applauds. It applauds killing white people. Imagine if that were reversed. But you do similar things occasionally to them, but you do it in a obviously satirical way. You disavow violence on your website, clearly. But it's interesting that what you're doing is basically using the methods they've used against us on them. And then they kind of claim the moral high ground and say, you see how evil they are. And then they often quote you when you're being humorous, and they quote you like you're serious, right? It's like it's not satire. So go ahead.
Yeah, no, and it's very, very funny.
Yeah, you're breaking up a little bit.
There's nothing funnier than reading myself quoted by the mainstream media, because they just don't understand.
Well, they really don't. I mean, they're just kind of dense. The New York media. Let's just take the Trump case. Let's go over that, you and I, for a minute. The New York Trump case. I mean, the thing with the women. The New York media sewers are just spewing their vile hate all over Trump. They say Trump is a moral threat to America because of some stupid, locker room talk. Now, get this. The media calling Donald Trump immoral. It's just the same media that's promoted drugs, porno, gangster rap, torture, sadism, blood, masochism, sexual degeneracy, endless blood and gore to our kids. And then they drag Trump over the coals and say that, he's immoral. This is the same media that pushes Nicki Minaj as a role model for teenage girls, for God's sakes. You still there? I hope you have a good connection. We lost you a little bit.
We might have lost him for a little bit. We'll try to get him back.
All right. Well, I got some more to say about that, too. So, and this is the same media. It talks about morality. Yeah, as I've talked about in my robocall, which you can hear in the brand new robocall in my video today. Again, it's Vote Trump and Duke. The biggest media event of the year is the Super Bowl, right? And what does it do? This is the ultimate establishment event of the year. Biggest corporations, big media, big sports, and culture. This is the culture of America. For God's sakes, if this is American culture, we're in big trouble. Well, we are in big trouble. And so what do? They honor the cop-killing Black Panthers and Malcolm X. And then not long after this, Black Panther thugs imbued with, I think we lost connection altogether, but we seem to be back now. I hope that we are. We seem to be. Anyway, so I was talking about the hypocrisy. They love black people who fight for their interests, such as the Black Caucus. And, of course, they love Jews who fight specifically for the Jewish interests globally. And they love Jews who fight Jewish ethno-state of Israel. And then these hypocrites literally label me as horrible and deplorable for daring to do what? Defending white people. Are you back, Andrew? I think we're trying to get him back. We have to call him back right away, Andrew, if you can hear me.
We have to call Andrew back. I just spoke to him on another line.
Yeah, we'll get it. Anyway, so what they do is, I mean, so then these hypocrites label me as horrible and deplorable for doing what? Oh yeah, defending white people. If you're a white person who loves your heritage and honors your forefathers, you're vilified. But you know, our forefathers created this great country, gave us our freedoms, our Constitution, our Western Christian civilization, our law, our art, our architecture, our medicine, our educational system, our industry, and all of our highest values. Are you there, Andrew?
I am. Yeah, that must have been the Jewish Mossad. It's every time I'm on, man. We can't get a clean conversation.
Yeah, they're targeting you, buddy. They target all of us, as you know. You know, we're fighting it, but they're working on my Facebook page now. You know, they got me on Facebook. 45,000, almost 50,000 followers. I mean, it's just amazing how they're doing. I mean, it's just, and I'm running for U.S. Senate. They don't believe in the American system. They don't believe in democracy. They don't believe in any sort of electoral process. And of course, we have a process now totally controlled by the oligarchs, don't we? I mean, these super ungodly, rich, Jewish neo-Marxists who are leading the West, leading this world to war, leading the kids of the world to degeneracy and drugs and destructiveness. I mean, it's just amazing.
Yeah, that's when I cut out, is when you were talking about Donald Trump makes these just, I mean, every guy knows that these are the kind of comments that just get made. I mean, you know, I don't know how you can really put any kind of moral judgment on that, but these people coming out and saying this, I mean, Anderson Cooper does this moral outrage, and this man he's an open homosexual. And he's outraged at Trump for making heterosexual comments in a private conversation.
I know. I mean,
the nerve.
Unbelievable.
The nerve of these people. And the Jews themselves talking about moral outrage, that it's morally indefensible and that he's predatory. I mean, Jews talking about people being predatory. I mean, it's really incredible the level to which they're sinking. But these fake sex scandals seem to be blowing up in their faces. I mean, they're just one after the other is falling apart, and they just keep throwing more out there, and they just keep falling apart. So, I mean, I don't think that's really going to sway anybody.
Well, and I think also that white people are beginning to realize how much racist hate they have against white people in this country. I mean, you can't even say a nice word about white people. I mean, even the great Donald Trump, and I really admire him, and I'm really so thankful for him. He's making a lot of he's risking everything he's won in his life, and his family has won in this quest for the presidency. You can't say anything bad about him. But even Donald Trump, he goes to a meeting with 35,000 people, and he can say, "I love the black people here, and thank you for the black." And he can say, "I love the Mexicans." And then there's 99% of the audience is white, but Donald Trump wouldn't dare. He can't really think the demographics of this country the way they've now come, and it's going to get worse in the future. He can't even say, and I really love the white people whose forefathers created this country, because that's the way the establishment works. I mean, it's just amazing to see how this process is going. You can love everybody and you can say good things about everybody. The establishment teaches our kids about, quote, great black men, great black achievements like the red light and paper
black
bag.
Inventors.
Yeah, the red light and the paper bag. I'm not kidding, folks. Yeah. And we're not trying to demean anybody. We're just trying to defend ourselves by telling the truth. The hypocritical racist media never tires of putting out great black achievements. But would they ever dare say the Apollo moon missions were a great white achievement? I mean, this was the greatest achievement perhaps in the entire history of the world. There's never been a more inspiring thing. And I got a picture of it. I'm going to do a video on this and put a picture of all the mission control people and all the leaders of it. Most of them were German scientists, by the way. Many of them were. And it was an entirely white project. It was the most white and non-Jewish project that's ever been in terms of, and imagine putting our footprints on this spear in the sky, this yellow orb, this golden orb that we gazed up, that all man has gazed up, saying, man, wondering and wishing they could walk on it, and we did it, right? But you could never say, the great white achievement of going to the freaking moon, the greatest achievement in the history of the world. I mean, this is a sick world we live in, isn't it?
No, instead you have to talk about they invented peanut butter. The blacks invented peanut butter, which I don't know. Peanut butter, it's like a recipe. It's not really something that you invent. But no, I mean, on Google, when you typed American inventors,
you crush peanuts and you get peanut butter. I mean, it's really an incredible invention.
Yeah, no, I mean, they claim that the mainstream websites like Huffington Post will claim that black people invented cell phones. I mean, just crazy things that just aren't even true. And they come up with this stuff. So, yeah, no, I mean, it is too bad that Donald Trump can't say thank you, whites, but I understand why he can't. But what he's doing, what he's leading is something that'll make that situation different where you will be able to say.
He is. And you know what? I understand what the situation is, because you know what? If he said that one day, one of his rallies, he simply said, and I want to really thank all the white people who came out here to support me, the men and women whose forefathers wrote our Constitution, gave us our great country, and the soul and sinew of this country. And if he did that in 20 minutes, they'd have about a godzillion women, saying Donald Trump tried to kiss me, my God,
Yeah.
But you know what? It's like, that's another funny thing too, isn't it? That you like all these women, right? So he's been around for decades now, right? He's a billionaire. He's a pretty good target for a lawsuit, if there was any evidence that he was doing this kind of stuff, right? But not a word about this for 40 years with these women. But suddenly we get 3 weeks away from the election and suddenly they're popping up like chia pets, right?
Yeah, no, and he made a joke about it, but none of these women are attractive. There's one looks like she crawled up out of a toxic waste pit, and she says that he tried to have sex with her when his wife went to the bathroom. She's a journalist. I can't think of her name right now, but she's a journalist, and she says that she was interviewing him and his wife, Melania, when she was pregnant, like a year after they had gotten married, and that Melania went to the bathroom and he started trying to have sex with her. And she said she never reported it before because she didn't think it was a big deal. And
the New York Times. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, yeah, the New York Times asked Trump about that. So the Trump people got all the data, and this woman had written Trump like dozens of emails, communications, messages, and everything, how much she thought he was so great and so wonderful, and she wanted to work for him, and she thought he was just the greatest guy and all this other stuff. And now this comes out, 3 or 4 weeks before the election. I mean, these people in the media, they'll just sink to any depth. And that's what's the problem, because I think most white people in this country just can't understand the level of evil that we have running this country and in both media and the political establishment, because they would never do such a thing. And they just couldn't imagine someone lying like this and using this dirty tactics like this to get their way. I mean, it's just, and so a lot of people believe it because it's just so outrageous and it's so horrific. They couldn't believe someone to be so evil. But you know what, Andrew? What we know is they are that evil. They've killed tens of millions of people in Russia. We've been talking about Russia. They've led us into the First and Second World War. They've led us into these insane wars. They've killed people all over the world, as well as our own young men, a million right now. The latest figures is 1 million disabled Americans from these wars. Many of them totally disabled, some of them partially disabled, trillions of dollars. I mean, these people are the real personification of evil.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, and it's every war too. It's like, Mel Gibson famously told this truth that the Jews started every war. Because, I mean, you can go back like the Opium War in China. This was started and manipulated by Jews. So,
and who ran the opium?
Every single war.
Who's the guy?
Sassoon.
Yeah, the guy was Sassoon. Sassoon, rich Jewish family that bribed the king and bribed the aristocrats in Britain to open up this opium market. So then they got millions of Chinese hooked on heroin and opium drugs, right? And then we wonder why there was a war, that the Chinese didn't particularly like these people coming in and getting them on opium. And it's the same story historically again and again and again.
Yeah, no, I mean, it is. And the thing is, I mean, if by some trickery, some Jewish trickery, we do not win this election, people are going to blame the Jews for this loss. I mean, you're going to have this wave of anti-Semitism like has not existed since Hitler's Germany. If Trump is not elected president. And I mean, I said if I was the Jews, I'd be wanting Trump to win at this point, because they've gone out so far, and it's just that every single step of the way attacking him has been Jews. And you can look at this. I mean, this is not you don't have to be have a computer brain to recognize the pattern here, that it's all Jews that are trying to stop Donald Trump, and that it's especially when it comes to the quote unquote conservative Jews. You know, these are people who are supposed to be supporting the Republican nominee that are attacking him and saying, you know, don't vote for him, vote for Hillary. Glenn Beck is not Jewish, but he's obsessed with Jews, and he's endorsed Hillary Clinton. So, you know, I mean, people are going to see this pattern of all of these Jews who have turned on Trump.
Well, you know, by the way, I need to make a couple acknowledgments. Melissa gave us $10 a little while ago, and William gave us $300, which is very nice. And we're trying to get a big media buy going, folks. I hope that all of you who are appreciating this program, appreciating my work, I hope all of you realize whatever happens, I believe Trump's going to win, but we could have a scenario where Trump doesn't, where Clinton edges him out because of some of these states where the demographics are disastrous. And I might win. And if I can win, the movement stays going. The alt-right is going to have a man in the United States Senate who's going to call out these SOBs, these horrendous traitors to America, the traitors to our people, these destroyers, these corrupt bastards. That's the only way to put it, really. And the movement goes on. And by the way, like you say, even if I lost or Trump lost, or both of us lost, I'm telling you, the movement's not going anywhere. People that get demoralized and say it's all over, it's not over, like they always say till the fat lady sings. Man, this election, what's happened with Trump, whether he wins or not, he has helped breach subjects that nobody else has breached, being a nominee for a major party. And the truth is that if Clinton gets elected, she's going to go through hell from the American people. And they're going to be so mad and so angry that the movement is going to grow by leaps and bounds, whatever happens. I hope Trump wins. That's the best scenario. But people should not get depressed. And they should not believe the media that Trump's necessarily going to lose or I'm going to lose. But by the way, if you want to support me, that you got to go to Duke for Senate. We're almost out of time, folks. It's 3 weeks. I'm getting ready to make a media buy. We're hoping to make a media buy of $40,000 to $50,000. That's what we're aiming at. And to do that, it takes some money and some support from people. So I hope people will become generous and do what you can. And those young people can just give $10 or $20 or whatever. Fine, you know, and some of you can do the maximum. I don't know, but we need some support because we have to make our presence known. Everybody that hears my message embraces it practically. I mean, it's just amazing the enthusiastic support I'm getting all over the state. But it's going to take also, people have to believe you can win, and that's why they need to see a presence of the candidate. So I hope people will go to DukeForSenate.com and make a serious contribution.
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% endorse that message.
Well, I hope that you can make one more appeal to your people in this last few days, because it's now crunch time. It's either do or die at this point. And this is the seminal election of our lives, isn't it? And that's another thing I've gotten, Andrew, is a lot of people tell me, you know, I went to the Wooden Boat Festival. I shook probably 15,000 hands. I took about 1,000 pictures with people on pictures. But, you know, they all said it this way. They said they are so looking forward to November 8th, where they get to vote for Donald Trump and David Duke on the same day, on the same ballot. And that's pretty wonderful. It's pretty wonderful.
Yeah, no, I mean, I believe you're going to win just because of that. I mean, it's everybody's going to go out and vote for Donald Trump, and everybody recognizes your name. So, you know, I mean, just that alone is enough to get you in office. But, you know, I mean, if you're in Washington when Donald Trump's president, I mean, I can't imagine a more ideal situation, because you'll be able to give him room to maneuver, because you'll be pushing it as far right as possible.
Yeah, and anybody that contributes, wherever you are in America, I'll be your senator. And I want to tell you, folks, you contribute, you're going to be put on the list, top of the list, and when you come to Washington to see the United States Capitol, you're going to get to see me personally. That's it. Thank you so much, Andrew. You've been great as always, and keep up the incredible work. You've done fantastic work at the Daily Stonewall. Appreciate you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, folks, that's it. And thanks again to all the people out there that are contributing. Also, Mr. Bell gave us a nice contribution. Mr. Connor gave us one. Jeffrey gave us one. And Keith gave us a nice $100. Appreciate y'all. Please go right now to DukeForSenate.com and let's change the world. And, I might not win, but the only reason I wouldn't win if I don't get enough support to reach the people, to let them know I'm running, to think they have to know that I have a great chance. And I think they're learning that now. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
The radiation is migrating inland and is moving across the entire country. There's only one proven defender to radiation exposure, the brilliant Chernobyl-proven discovery of Dr. Michael Kiriak, which combines the 4 most potent and powerful algae on the planet, imported to the U.S. and known as Bio-Superfood. I've taken Bio-Superfood every day for several years now and want you to do the same for your sake and the health and safety of your family and loved ones. Take the banner at the top of Rense.com and prepare to learn how to save your life.
Earthquakes, political chicanery, extreme weather, impending financial doom. If you haven't gotten prepared, you're just not paying attention. You need emergency food, and you know it. You'll get the most emergency food for your money from Ready Supply Foods. Companies with patriotic names try to sell you 5 or 6 soups, some pudding, drink powders, and rice, but have only half of the calories you need to survive. You really want to try and live on that? Ready Supply Foods sells 23 delicious entrees with none of the empty calories. Enjoy stroganoff, pasta alfredo, primavera and marinara, chicken a la king, Hawaiian sweet and sour, and vegetable rotini. Those are just a few of our amazing menu items. You can buy from the other companies and eat like a peasant, or buy from Ready Supply Foods and eat like a king. We sell you twice as much food for the money than most companies, and it's much better food. Surviving a disaster is hard enough without worrying about starving to death. See how much more food you can get for your money at ReadySupplyFoods.com today.
You're listening to the Rense Radio Network, nationwide and worldwide on the net and at Rense.com.